The great hall of the skyborn palace shimmered under the soft glow of the twin suns outside. Crystal columns stretched high, their surfaces reflecting light in patterns that danced across the polished floors. Guests from countless star systems gathered, their forms a blur of colors, shapes, and textures unfamiliar to human eyes. At the center of it all stood the alien princess, her figure poised and elegant, her gaze steady despite the storm of thoughts whirling in her mind. She had been trained her entire life to remain composed, to speak carefully, and to move with precision. Diplomacy had been the lifeblood of her family for generations, and she knew the weight of her actions could tip alliances, spark wars, or inspire loyalty. Yet today, standing at the far end of the hall, she faced a presence that challenged even her disciplined demeanor. The human soldier entered quietly, his uniform unlike the extravagant garb of the alien delegations. He was tall and solidly built, with the kind of confidence that only came from facing dangers far beyond what most of these dignitaries could imagine. His eyes, sharp and unyielding, scanned the room, settling briefly on her. In that moment, the princess felt a flicker of unease, something entirely new in her experience with diplomacy. She reminded herself to breathe. Her composure was her shield, and the halls of her ancestors demanded nothing less. Yet as he approached, she realized that this human moved differently from the others. He did not bend his posture in deference. He did not alter his tone to flatter or to appease. He simply moved forward, acknowledging her presence without pretense. The murmurs of the court swelled around them, whispers of curiosity and speculation. Why had a human been allowed in this gathering? He was neither diplomat nor noble. He was a soldier, and in this place of intricate political theater, he was entirely out of his element. Yet there was something magnetic about him, a subtle force that drew attention without demanding it. The princess lifted her chin, allowing a careful smile to form. Diplomacy required grace, and her people expected nothing less. "Welcome to the council hall," she said, her voice smooth and calm, though her pulse quickened slightly beneath her chest plate. The human inclined his head, a motion that conveyed both respect and simplicity. "Thank you, Your Highness," he replied. His voice carried a weight she had not anticipated. It was measured, steady, and carried the quiet assurance of someone who had faced countless unknowns and emerged unbroken. They moved through the preliminary pleasantries, exchanging formalities and courtesies. The princess listened, observed, and responded, but she found her mind repeatedly drawn to the subtle movements of the human soldier. How he adjusted his stance, how his eyes never wavered, how his presence seemed to demand honesty rather than flattery. Around them, negotiations continued. Star systems debated trade routes, shared intelligence, and defense treaties. Yet to the princess, the room seemed to narrow, the walls fading, leaving only the soldier and her in the shared space of subtle challenge. She recalled the teachings of her mentors, the words repeated countless times. Composure is the armor of the mind. Control your reactions and you control the course of events. And she did her best to adhere to that lesson. Yet even as she navigated the conversation, her thoughts betrayed a strange fascination. She had faced many adversaries, skilled negotiators and cunning manipulators, but this human seemed untouched by such arts. "Your presence here is unusual," she said carefully, allowing her tone to remain courteous but direct. "Most humans rarely involve themselves in interstellar diplomacy." He smiled faintly, not condescending but genuine, as though she had acknowledged something she could not fully name. "I am here because the situation requires it," he said simply. "Sometimes the needs of the many demand more than protocol." The princess felt a ripple of intrigue. His answer was honest, unembellished, yet carried an authority that she could not ignore. She had encountered honesty before, of course, but it was usually wrapped in strategy or intention. Here it was plain and unguarded. As the day progressed, the discussions grew more intense. A dispute over resource rights flared between two alien systems, voices rising, colors shifting, and gestures becoming more animated. The princess observed, analyzing the subtleties, calculating potential outcomes. The human soldier, however, remained calm at her side, seemingly unaffected by the rising tension. His presence was grounding, a steadying force amidst the chaos of political intrigue. When one delegate attempted to redirect the conversation toward veiled threats, the princess noticed how her companion's eyes narrowed slightly, a subtle display of readiness rather than anger. He did not intervene, did not speak, but she understood the message. He could act if necessary, and that was enough. For the first time in her experience, she felt a strange mixture of admiration and unease. The human soldier was not simply courageous. He radiated a form of certainty that unsettled her finely honed control. It was a quality that many leaders of her people spent lifetimes cultivating, yet he carried it naturally without effort or ceremony. By the time evening descended, the council hall had settled into a rhythm. Delegates had returned to their private discussions, and the grandeur of the palace dimmed into soft lights. The princess found herself standing near a balcony, the twin suns now distant points of light, and the human soldier approached her. "You handled the negotiations well," he said, his tone devoid of flattery. "You maintained order when things could have fallen apart." She inclined her head, hiding the flicker of pride that touched her chest. "I do what is required," she replied. "It is expected of me." He nodded, a faint smile appearing. "Sometimes what is required goes beyond expectation." She studied him, noting the simplicity of his words, the honesty they conveyed. In the quiet of the evening, she realized that this human possessed a quality her people revered, but often misunderstood. Courage paired with restraint, strength paired with integrity. It was a rare combination, and it unsettled the careful calculations she had always relied upon. "I must ask," she said carefully, "how you came to be here in the midst of all this." He glanced at the horizon, where the stars now peeked through, the sky faint against the dimming light. "I was asked to help," he said. "Some problems cannot be solved through negotiation alone." The princess allowed herself a subtle smile. "And yet you chose to remain observant, to step lightly, to avoid unnecessary conflict." "It is a matter of respect," he replied. "I do not presume to know what is best for others, but I act when action is necessary." She nodded slowly, understanding more than she expected. "There is wisdom in that," she said, "and it is rare to encounter in these halls." They spoke for hours as the stars filled the sky, discussing philosophies, strategies, and the challenges of leadership. She found herself relaxing in a way that was unusual for her. With most visitors, formality was necessary, walls were required, and every word was weighed. With him, conversation flowed naturally, unburdened by hidden agendas or performative gestures. As the night deepened, the princess recognized something profound. Her composure had been tested, not by anger, intrigue, or threat, but by the sheer presence of a being who embodied courage, honesty, and integrity in its purest form. She had maintained her poise, yet she felt a shift within herself, a recognition of qualities she admired and wished to understand better. "I will return to the council tomorrow," she said quietly. "The challenges of governance are never ending." He inclined his head. "And I will be here should you need assistance." She regarded him, noting the simplicity of his offer and the unspoken strength it carried. For the first time, she realized that true courage did not need to be displayed in grand gestures. It could exist quietly, unwavering, and it could inspire those who witnessed it. The princess turned back to the balcony, gazing at the distant stars. Her heart was calm, her mind alert, and yet she felt a quiet excitement she had not known before. She had faced a human soldier, and in doing so, she had encountered a perspective that challenged her understanding of leadership, strength, and dignity. As dawn approached, she returned to her chambers, her composure intact yet enriched by the encounter. She knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, new disputes, and new demands. Yet she also knew that she had glimpsed a model of courage and integrity that transcended species, that spoke to the very essence of what it meant to lead, to act, and to honor one's principles. In the days that followed, the human soldier remained a quiet presence, never interfering unnecessarily, never seeking attention. Delegates came and went, negotiations waxed and waned, yet she carried the memory of him with her. A reminder that composure was not merely the absence of emotion, but the presence of understanding, patience, and respect for truth. In time, the princess found herself more confident, more decisive, and unexpectedly more open. She approached the council with renewed clarity, her words carrying conviction, her actions guided by wisdom, tempered with empathy. And when the human soldier appeared in her life, she welcomed it, not with trepidation, but with the knowledge that true courage could teach even the most disciplined of leaders the power of humility, honesty, and strength. The palace continued, its grand dance of diplomacy. But the princess had learned something invaluable. Composure was not only a shield, but a